Hello, everybody. This is Harry and Jen do horror with friends. This week, we're analyzing and critiquing Immaculate from 2024, produced by and starring Sydney Sweeney, directed by Michael Mohan. This conversation was hella fun, but as usual, dips into some extreme territory, including discussions of infanticide and religious violence. So if that is not your jam, you may want to steer clear of this one. We will not take offense. I also want to mention that we are a full spoilers podcast, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, go see that first and then come back to us. As always, if you have a minute, we always welcome ratings and reviews on our podcast streaming services. However, the best is when people actually share these episodes with their horror enthusiast friends. So if that's you, if you have buds who like scary movies, why not send them a little link to the show? We appreciate it. Next month, we are talking about Sarah, the Bone Woman, so look out for that. But now, let's talk about Immaculate. And we are officially podcasting.
That's
I'm going to start it that way.
That's the opening. Yep, there it is.
I am Harry Nichols. I am a singer-songwriter. I am an English teacher. And a thing about me... Oh! I put new music into the world. I took a bunch of old demos, and I stuck them up on Bandcamp. And they're free, and they're rough. And I just felt like putting a thing into the world. And so I did that. And there are a bunch of country tunes that I wrote like a couple of years ago. But... feels good to present a thing to the universe. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So
acoustic or with a band?
Just me. I played a bunch of instruments on it though. I played I did the bass. I did some electric guitar, some acoustic guitar. I did a tambourine that we got from a wedding I used at the time. Yes.
Very, very cool.
Yes.
I'm Jen Lightfoot, and I'm an artist and tattoo artist, and a thing about me is I just got back from Ireland.
Oh.
And that was
Ireland.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm not in Ireland.
Like 5 days. Cool. We were in England before that. I'm not doing an Irish accent.
It's not going to be good. You should have absorbed something. Let's hear it. Come on.
No, it's not going to sound good. No one needs to hear that. I'm not drunk enough.
We'll ask you at the end.
We'll get you there. We'll get you there.
But I'm Kat Nichols. I am Harry's wife.
Yeah.
And a thing about me is that I have been playing more music lately, and I really enjoy doing that.
Mm-hmm. And what do you play?
Oh, great question. I play viola, and I play piano, but I haven't been playing piano lately.
Mm. And what are the things that you're normally doing that playing music is a break from?
Oh, parenting?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Teaching?
Oh, yeah.
Teaching and parenting, being around children all the time.
Those things.
Thank you for those leading questions.
That's what I do. I'm a teacher, you see. Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, man. It's going to be that kind of podcast.
I think it might be. This is the first time that we have had a spouse on the podcast, but not the last time, right?
Nope.
So, Kat, if you could encapsulate our relationship in, just a few words, what would you say?
Oh, no pressure, though. Goofy?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good word.
Yeah. Exhausted? No.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a statement. That's not a statement about our relationship.
Fair.
It's a statement about
just like
us.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we just saw a movie. We went to Cinemapolis and saw a movie called Babes, which is about it's starring Ilana Glazer from Broad City.
Oh,
Love
yes, I
her.
saw the trailer for this.
She's wonderful.
It was pretty funny.
It was very funny. We both saw I think we both felt very seen by the movie because it's about
about young parenthood.
Yeah, basically. And
although we're older parents than the babes.
That's true. That's true. We are older parents. So we actually did get to watch it and be like, we were there. But things are better now.
But you're
it
past
made
that.
us appreciative of what we have. I think that was a good takeaway from the movie. And we got to go out to a movie.
Yeah,
That was cool.
and that was magic.
Yeah.
And we got to eat dinner, and my God, all these humanizing things
that you don't normally get to do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We're talking about Immaculate today, and as is our tradition, we need our guests to summarize Immaculate. So, Kat, would you please be so kind?
I will do my best. Immaculate. I got to start at the beginning because that beginning scene is a little overwhelming.
Spoilers are great. Give us the scope of the plot. Yeah.
Okay. And I should also mention that Harry and I watched this movie twice and have intentionally not spoken about it, which is
that must be
weird.
really hard.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
really
been
weird.
really hard. It's been a really hard time.
Mm-hmm.
So we start out with this nun who remains unnamed, who is clearly trying to run away from this convent. We know nothing else about this, but she sneaks us in and steals a key and tries to escape, but ultimately fails because there are additional locks on the gate, but she is chased by these group of 4 nuns who try to stop her from going away, and they end up burying her alive, which is pretty jarring to see. And then from there, we cut to our main story, which is about Sister Cecilia, who is an American girl who goes and was essentially recruited to be in this convent. And she goes out there, and I've been waiting to say this. So, to quote Frozen, I was raised Catholic. I have a lot of insight into some of this, and in it, becoming a priest or a nun is a sacrament that is instead of marriage. So a lot of times that's related to marriage. And I just kept thinking of Elsa and Frozen being you can't marry a man you just met. When she goes to the convent, right. And I was you can't just join a convent you've never been to. What are you thinking? Clearly is a bad decision. But
clearly.
So she goes there, and through some sort of strange happenings, becomes pregnant with a baby, and she has not had any sex. We're not sure for a while how she becomes pregnant. I believe that it is because she holds this nail. I'm very
That's
confused.
actually, we have to
should
talk about that because
that.
100% I felt the same way.
Because I'm I'm not sure how she gets pregnant. But in any case, she's noticing things get weirder and weirder as she stays there. And ultimately, she realizes that she needs to escape because she's gotten a couple warnings. She tries to escape and she fails. She realizes that the priest who brought her in is doing experiments that are kind of mysterious, and ultimately she thinks that the baby inside her, she's this is evil, there's something wrong. And there was a while where everybody was kind of treating her like Mary and worshiping her, and she essentially then she starts killing the other people in her attempt to escape, which she tries to do. And she ends up in the catacombs where she finds her murdered friend and she tries to burn the evil priest alive. And in the end, she escapes out a window and murders her baby.
Yeah.
So that's
cheery. That's chipper. Yeah.
It's very uplifting.
That's my disjointed summary, and I have some thoughts. I have pages of thoughts.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy because they. It turns out that the whole convent is about trying to bring about the second coming of Christ through science, right? They're trying to they have the nail that crucified Jesus, and they use the DNA to create a second coming, which is pretty wild.
Which I
idea.
get because they have the science lab we're hopping into critique already, but they
We
have
always
the
do this.
science lab, but then she holds the nail, and she's the only one that holds the nail without gloves. So, like,
I wrote
which
that too, yeah.
is it?
So much science. So much science.
Yeah. So that was, struck me as weird too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know how she got pregnant. I mean, and that's, I guess,
Yeah.
immaculate conception, but like,
It was not immaculate conception, though. I feel
Right.
like
Yeah, because
very
they
clearly they
put
did
it in
some
her.
kind of IVF situation, and yeah,
Well, there's the
Yeah.
part where she's like, what? The first jump scene where she's like pulled back in the wall during confession, and
right.
it almost has like a Rosemary's Baby vibe of being like
Right.
fucked by the devil,
yes,
essentially.
yes. Yes.
So I was like, is this the moment that they're doing it to her?
My read on that was that she wandered into where the nail is kept after having had a few drinks, the night that she takes her vows, and either she passes out because she's just so stunned at holding the nail that crucified Jesus, or she's been drugged and they were planning to do this the whole time.
That's
and
true.
then they used that unconscious state to implant this thing.
That's true. We might not have seen it. That's true.
yeah. And there was one part where Isabel, who is one of the other young nuns but has been there longer, is so mad, and she shouts, "You have to try again. It should have been me."
Right,
And
right.
so, like, there's the implication that it's known that they're trying to do this.
Right.
But I don't understand when it happened.
Right. Well, and it also seems a bit murky. Like, who knows what's really going on
Yes,
here?
because-
right? Like, some of them seem to know,
And
some of them don't.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Like some of
It's-
the
yeah.
older ones do, but Gwen, her friend, clearly doesn't.
Right.
So, like, is it just the people who have been there for a long time?
And something that was also not clear to me is, like, when she arrives at the convent, there's a ceremony that night, which seems like poor planning, but
Like, you would do it differently.
sure. If I was running an evil convent.
That should be the whole podcast.
I
Just
would
how-
sign up for your evil
Yeah.
convent.
Would you?
I would.
Okay.
That's love.
I would
That
let you
is
have
love.
like 1 to 2 nights to
settle
recuperate from your
in.
international flight before you were.
And that's what I love about
friend.
your evil convent is that it just really takes into account what people need, you know?
Yeah, well, you got to take it needs into account. And I would be more clear about who was joining the convent that night, because
Yes.
I was confused about that, because it seemed like the ceremony was for her, but then there was also like this whole cohort,
Like a row of young
new
nuns,
people.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
And maybe they just focused on her in the ceremony because she's the main character. But I was a little confused as to like how long they had been there.
That was my take on it.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I was like, is he going to go through all of them?
Yeah.
And we're just seeing hers? Are they like going to shift their seats?
Right.
Like, what's
'Cause
happening?
she was like in the middle of the line, but then she got like the necklace put on her and no one else did.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of weird.
So why don't we hop into analysis then, if I may? What do we feel like are some of the themes, topics, perspectives, larger ideas that this movie is communicating?
I don't have that many. I wrote
Please.
down obedience and I wrote down control. Motherhood, that's kind of obvious, but control, like the. I did look up the movie, and I looked up that like control of women's bodies in like the
sure.
Catholic Church.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess, okay, this is a quote from Fangoria. Director Mohan recited a story where his family stopped attending church after hearing a pro-life sermon.
Oh, interesting.
However, he held that the movie was not intended to have a social message. But I feel like there must have been some like personal influence in that.
So interesting. So I also did a tiny bit of research. I'm not trying to
Okay,
jump on your train here.
no, please, because I didn't have much more.
And I listened to a few podcasts that were like interviews. Because so Sydney Sweeney, the star, also produced.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And
Oh,
had a heavy
interesting.
hand in
That's cool.
the script and things like that. So it's kind of her movie. Director Michael Mohan, was kind of her number two in that way. Seemed like to me.
That's cool.
It's so astonishing to me how reluctant they both were. And I listened to like 3 or 4 interviews. How reluctant they both were to talk about abortion with this movie, to talk about pro-life and politics. Like, I feel like a movie like this, coming in the wake of the overturn of Roe v. Wade, feels like like we're a natural place to lend some commentary on issues of that nature.
So they were just like kind of avoiding it?
Well, yeah, and so sometimes panels were larger than just the two of them, and some of the actors would say things like allude to like, and certainly the social dynamics of our day are like lend themselves to this film. Nobody said the word abortion. Like, nobody said Roe v. Wade. Nobody said anything like that. And the director and Sydney Sweeney both were like, They took this strange apolitical stance on it. This like focus on the arc of the character instead of the issues they're grappling with, and it just really blew my mind.
Do you think that they are worried that they will alienate part of their base?
I think that's part of it. I think they're playing political here. They have to,
and like they can send this message by getting people to watch the movie. So maybe it's a strategic move to not mention that.
I feel like the horror community is in a lot of ways like the metal community, where
you're either a Nazi or you're like hardcore anti-Nazi.
Yeah. It's definitely both political sides in the horror community.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe they were doing it so that more people would watch it and they wouldn't take a side, knowing that like people then wouldn't. I feel like, though, if you have a movie where your lead character is clearly upset from the start that she is pregnant,
right,
and then kills the baby in the end,
right,
you have to kind of say something. Because then, what is your movie saying about it?
Yeah.
And I actually was like, what is the movie saying about it?
I
maybe
also
they're trying.
Wonder that.
Yeah,
I also wonder
movie
that.
speak, but we can't figure out what the movie's saying.
Yeah. I interrupted you.
No,
though,
that's
with a huge
actually like
diatribe.
literally all I had. So
I'm so sorry.
what do you guys have for analysis? Kat, what do you have?
I thought that the language barrier really contributed to us viewing Cecilia as naive. So
I wanted something to say about the language barrier too. So,
yeah.
sorry,
So
continue.
no, she like had a book of how to learn Italian, and she went to Italy but didn't speak any Italian yet, and so she is completely reliant on like trusting others to translate accurately for her, which they do not.
No,
they
and it
don't.
does not give her any
does,
way to advocate for herself. And I thought that was very interesting because we're taking someone who essentially has had no way of advocating for herself her whole life. Like, I think she was already a nun before she went, and she just joined this
She
convent,
was, right? She had this, like, childhood experience where she, like, was dead for a while and then came back to life and then was a nun, right? Yeah.
She, like, became a nun, and then her church closed due to lack of attendance. And so that's how she ended up getting recruited for here, which is important because she finds that she was recruited rather than, like, and because of her childhood drowning experience.
That's true.
But
it wasn't like her choice to necessarily, like she didn't seek them out and be like, oh, I really want to be part of this convent.
No, Father Bad Guy did that.
That's true. That's true.
Father Bad Guy. Father Dudusky.
Oh, thank you.
I wrote down the names. That's the thing I got. I just think that she has no way of communicating with the outside world. And everyone else around her is able to communicate without her understanding, and think she's the only one who doesn't speak Italian. And that gets really scary, especially like the scene in the car.
Yeah.
Where she has faked a miscarriage by using the blood of a chicken that she murdered, which is also a pretty gruesome scene. And while they're in the car rushing her to the hospital, which was her way of like advocating for herself, right? Like she wanted to go to the hospital. No one would let her see anyone besides the people in the convent. Yeah. And so she's in the backseat of this car pretending that she is in immense pain, and the driver, the people in the front of the car are speaking in Italian and figuring out that she faked this. and she has no way of knowing that besides just body language. And I think that, you know, situations like that, like it's almost like she's shielded from all of the ideas that are around her.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's so great. I mean, language permeates a culture, right? Like a language in many ways builds a culture. And so to not have access to the language is to be in such a automatically disenfranchised group, which I think is like key to this movie. Super important.
Yeah, like she's alienated from the beginning because she
can't speak the language, but also I would argue because she's a woman in a deeply patriarchal organization.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Something else that I wrote down was like the image of these red-faced nuns.
Yeah.
What I wrote down was, do the red-faced nuns always foreshadow death? There's a red-faced nun in the opening sequence, and then our unnamed first character first gets her leg broken and then gets buried alive. And then they're the red-faced nuns in the scene when she goes right before she holds the nail. There's the one on the ground. And that's the one that I'm not sure about, because that's the one where I'm like, what dies after that? Is it like her soul from before she went there, like her former self? That's the one I'm not sure about. But then there's one who's like walking through the sheets that are drying in the wind, and then that bird flies into the window and dies. And then there's also, she sees a red-faced nun in the windows within the convent right before Isabel commits suicide.
Yes, yep.
And so I was just noticing that like all of those times someone dies right after she sees these red faces. And I'm wondering, like, what does that symbolize for her? Like, why is she seeing it? It wasn't bloody, it was just red.
Yeah.
And I also am not sure if like that's what she's imagining or if they actually look like that. So I'm curious what you guys think about that.
No, that's interesting. I actually wrote down all the bad things that were kind of happening, like the bird hitting the window, Cecilia falling or killing herself.
Not Cecilia.
Not Cecilia. Isabel. And then I also put her tooth falling out. But
her nail comes out.
Her nail coming
that
off.
was
Yeah.
the grossest.
I was thinking, I like the red-faced nuns as some way to indicate death. I feel like since they're red, and I was thinking with the tooth, adding the tooth and the nail, it almost is like it's not the savior in her. It's like, because bad things are happening around her, it's the devil. And so maybe they represent some kind of like devil satanic element. I'm not really sure, because they're also in the scene where she is pulled back in the what is it called, confession booth
in the confessional.
They're like there. It's like that's the you tied it to Rosemary's Baby, which I think is an absolutely apt comparison. But like they are the main figures in that, right?
Yeah.
It's the red-faced nun.
They're like holding
cult.
her down, touching her face and weird shit. Yeah.
And that was a dream, though.
Yeah, that was. I wonder if it was a dream or if she woke up afterwards.
Like a semi-dream.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Because like both times, so the first time that happened, I was like, this is weird. I was like, he keeps moving, because in the scene, Cecilia's in the confessional and they shoot it, and the priest is further away from her every time they flash back to the priest.
Right.
And the first time I watched it, I was like, this is really weird. And then I was like, oh, thank God it was a dream. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, I forget why this was so weird, but I'm scared again.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's a dream.
I don't think that
it is
happened?
either.
I think it's like Rosemary's Baby, where like there's a sequence in Rosemary's Baby where she's literally getting fucked by the devil, and you know all the Satan worshippers are there around her. Hail Satan! Hail Satan! You know, you know, we realize that it seems like a dream, but it's actually something about what happened, and I think that's what happened. I think that she got knocked out, drugged out somehow, and in this kind of weird cultish ritual was impregnated with this DNA.
Like while she was in the confessional, or
no, I think that the confessional is a part of the hallucination. I think it's,
okay.
That's so interesting. So what I like about what we're all bringing up here is the movie flirts and dips into like Omen and Rosemary's Baby territory.
Yes, it does.
But it remains focused on the cult, right? Like we see these little hints that like something may be actually supernaturally off, right? The bird in the window. I also noted the like collapsing picture of Mary in the bedroom. That she discovers the Bible verse behind.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
The teeth, the nails, right? It seems like there's maybe something supernatural. The seething hordes of the internet also pointed out that, like, the baby, when she has the baby in the end, the breathing...
It's wrong.
...is weird.
It is not, and they don't like show us the baby either.
Also, they don't show us the baby, but you can see it in the distance, and it's like a weird color.
Right.
It's the wrong color.
Black.
But it's also silent. Like, it's not crying.
But it's silent, but it is doing... I watched it with subtitles, of course, and I think it said, like, gurgling, rasping or something, weird. Yeah. And it's like a little, like, alien monster baby.
Yeah. So, I think maybe the movie's kind of hinting that there's a supernatural antichrist element to this creature, you know?
I think also there are a couple other things that I think are relevant. So I thought that the drowning attempt... Like when she was a child, she almost drowned and she like died for a little bit and came back. She had fallen under an icy pond, so she was stuck under the ice. And I feel like that's really reminiscent of when she is in the hot tub.
Cool.
And she is pulled under by Isabel. And then also that's like somehow in my mind also a little reminiscent of at the end, when she starts standing up for herself and killing the people who are doing this to her, when she like chokes someone, I feel like all of these are like restricting asphyxiation things. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
I like that. Yeah.
I like that too.
That was something that I found interesting.
Well, and her punishment for trying to escape the convent too is being like drenched in like a cold shower, you know, so it's like all about water and super interesting.
And then other things that I thought were interesting was there was not a lot of color because, you know, they pledged to this life of poverty and chastity. And then after she becomes impregnated, she is in this like blue and yellow, like regal gown. And it's so light and colorful. And it's just so interesting how they're like worshiping her. And she seems like this naive child. And she's just like standing there, almost like a painting of Mary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What a shot. I mean, sorry, go ahead, Jen.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, like, she literally looks like Mary. And the other thing I looked up, the only other thing was the blue cloak that she's wearing. Basically it represents the Virgin's purity, symbolizing the skies and labeling her as an empress. So blue was associated with Byzantine royalty apparently, and that's why they use it. So I think they were actually literally dressing her like
Mary.
Oh yeah. No, they definitely were.
And I think characters say, you know, how long before they start calling you Mary.
Gwen says that,
Yeah, that's such a crazy shot. I can't tell if I love it or if it's such a waste. Because I took a look at a still of that shot. And I love the costuming. I love the framing.
I love her tear.
I love the tear. And yet, there's just so much absent space on either side of her. There are two attendants.
But
neither of them seem significant to me.
It could have been shot better. I mean, there are a lot of amazing shots in the movie.
Yeah, it's a beautiful shot.
And she's down in the like catacombs, the like light and dark. It's amazing. But yeah, I agree with you. Like that is cool looking, but they just kind of pan out. And
perhaps
that's it.
Emblematic of my larger critique of the film. We'll get to that.
Ooh. I'm like, let's get to critique.
I want to return to the red-faced nuns for a second, because I feel like I have something to say about that, which is that I went on a bit of a spiral. You see, Kat went to a bachelorette party, and I investigated something called Nunsploitation.
Oh, yeah.
Which I had not really enjoyed before. I had never...
Did you watch a bunch of Nunsploitation?
I watched a few. I watched one, namely, that what I actually kind of enjoyed called Killer Nun.
Sounds great.
It's something. And something that I had learned through my research about Nunsploitation, which I feel like this movie comfortably plays with, is the idea of invoking the Inquisition, which is, one of the more emblematic, memorable, darkest, most violent parts of Catholic history. And we certainly see that, especially when her friend... Gwen has her tongue cut out.
Oh,
right?
my God, yes.
That's a very, like a scene very reminiscent of like the Inquisition. And so I think that the red-faced nuns are real. I think that they're there in the convent, and I think that they're there to show us that this convent has roots in some really dark shit. You know what I mean? And some really regressive shit.
Okay.
And so, that ties in everything that happens with this baby and, this woman's agency. Like, it all gets tied in together with, like, that kind of fucking fucked up shit, you know? A lot of people online were like, well, what were the red-faced nuns? It was never really explained. I didn't feel like I need an explanation. I don't know if y'all felt like you needed an explanation.
I feel like I came to my own explanation.
Yeah, I feel like
they foreshadowed death.
you can just kind of make your own interpretation about them, and it's fine.
Yeah.
I actually thought, well, all right, I'll save it for critique.
I also can I go back to the like language thing?
Yeah.
So she's so naive, and they kept quoting a beatitude, which is "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth."
Yeah.
And they kept coming back to that, and I feel like she was targeted because she's so naive. Like, yes, because she also survived this, but I wonder, like, because they kept quoting that same one, "Blessed are the meek."
They do, over and over.
And I also I'm curious about. So there is an older nun who shows up right after the like maybe dream, maybe impregnating,
Where she cuts the
hair.
Yeah.
And then later she gives her back the hair,
In like
and it almost looks like a voodoo doll.
Yeah, it's like Blair Witch Project.
Right?
Yes,
And so like it's like a cross, but instead of the very top part of the cross, it's her hair.
She's also the one, I believe, who has the crosses on the bottom of the feet.
Yes.
She's a former experiment subject.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about her.
I felt that way too. I was confused about her character a little bit.
Yes.
Because I was like, okay, if she's been through this process before, why would she still, like, why would she say that she's blessed? Or why would she, like, take the hair? Like, I was like, is it madness after a certain point?
Maybe, or is
Stockholm Syndrome. I think that she just, like...
But she's also the one who's like, you're never going to be able to escape.
Yes.
So like, maybe is she trying to protect her and warn her? Like, do you think, because like, I feel like that's a thing to like have an artifact to pray with when you're praying for someone. So do you think that she was like during the movie, I thought that she was kind of evil, but do you think that maybe she was trying to protect
like in her
Cecilia? And so she was grabbing the hair so she had some sort of totem to hold on to? Because in the end, she's the one who like essentially convinces Cecilia to try to run away, right? Or at least warns her that like there's no way she's getting out and makes that like kind of sit in with her.
Yeah.
That's true.
So.
That's interesting.
You said, okay, so you have to have an object that you would pray with?
You don't have to.
No, but I mean, like, if you did, would it have to be, like, a part of the person? Because that's actually interesting. Like, it would be her hair. I don't know. I'm not sure. If that would need to be something, or if that's something that Catholicism does.
I don't think strictly at all. But I think that, like, in a world where she's this old lady who's, like, been trapped her whole life, who wants to like pray for this specific girl that she doesn't know anything about really, and like she's taking a vow of poverty. She doesn't have like anything that she could take besides her body.
Oh, that's actually true. Yeah, she doesn't have any objects. Yeah,
maybe. I also wondered a little bit about that character too. I felt like in that scene where Cecilia discovers her friend having her tongue cut out, and she gets immediately interrupted by that old woman.
She does, yeah.
She says, "You will never escape this place." And I really felt like the audio editing, the manipulation on her voice sounded scary.
I thought so
sounded
too.
Devilly.
I thought it sounded sinister, as if
it sounded like it was pitched down. It sounded like it had some subs to it.
Yep.
And it sounded like what people do when they try to do a devil voice. And so, I wondered, is that a part of this? Is that, another piece of, the bird flying into the window? Or, something
that,
like that?
multiple people would be
possessed?
Oh, interesting.
Now I'm going to quote the Bible.
Let's go.
Okay, there were 2 Bible quotes, cited in the movie, and I can only find one of them in my notes, but it's from Corinthians, and I forget which one it is. I think it might be the one that was behind the painting that fell, but I'm not sure. And it's, "And no wonder, for even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light."
Right.
And they said that one. There was another Bible quote that they didn't say in the movie that I wanted to look up, but I can't find it. But I find that interesting because we can't decide if this woman was good or evil, but we think that maybe she was impregnated also with evil. Do you know what I mean? And
So
so
did that evil linger within her,
Right.
or change her? Yeah.
I read that as being in reference to the priest who is
Yeah,
doing
I did
this.
too. Yeah. Because he comes across as
As very
charming,
good, very
and
good
nice.
guy. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even when he's showing the lab, he's still kind of
he's proud of it.
He's got kind of a
but he's
smile on his
charming
face.
and soft spoken still.
He's very humble, right?
Yes.
He's like, "I am not God. I'm God's servant." And I've felt God over and over. Yeah.
Yes.
And then she accuses him of playing God, and that really pisses him off.
Right.
And actually, right after that, she says no, and it's the first time she says no in the movie, which I thought was interesting.
That is interesting.
That is interesting. Nice. Good catch. Good catch. Huh.
That's interesting. It's the first thing she says no to. It's actually the first. Is it the first moment that a actual person, not she's drugged or passed out, or they, put Jesus semen in her or whatever. Is that the first time that a person is actually doing something to her? That's not I wouldn't count the ultrasound and stuff, because it's
Well, the hair cutting, you wouldn't count
but
that.
she doesn't say no to that.
Right.
So that's interesting. The hair cutting, yeah, that is a thing.
Well, hair cutting
Invasion.
is a classical symbol of the loss of innocence as well. So that's also kind of interesting. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think so. If I'm being as generous as I can to this movie, I want to say that what this movie does right is that it actually forces the viewer to see Cecilia as an object of reproduction. So the characters obviously do this. Starting at the beginning, right? You've got the customs agents in the very beginning who are remarking what a waste, right? What a waste for this young girl to go. And what they mean by that, if you draw away the curtain there, is what a waste that she'll never have sex, never have a baby, right? Yeah.
No, what they mean is what a waste that no one will get to have sex with her.
Right. Well, that's what I mean.
They won't get to have sex.
And that's a
with her.
solid difference, and thank you for that.
Yeah,
yes,
I don't think
you're
that they care
absolutely correct.
about the babies.
No. But what they mean is from a very male gaze, what a shame that no one will ever get to have sex with her, right?
Yep.
That's what they mean. You're right. The mother superior, upon Cecilia's arrival, she talks about her youthful looks, right? And what that really means is you're
young and can
young,
put a baby in
viability. Yes, absolutely. The vows scene. Can we talk about how uncomfortable that is for a second? Were you all uncomfortable
I
with
was
that?
uncomfortable.
Why the ring kissing?
Yeah,
The ring kissing
Why?
is so uncomfortable. Could that ring be any bigger and bulkier and closer to that dude's dick?
Right?
That
and she kissed it so slowly.
she's
I was
so uncomfortable about kissing it. It's not cool.
So gross.
The suffering on the cross gets applied to women forced to carry a pregnancy, right? Through a Catholic lens. They have to endure this thing for the good of mankind, just like Jesus. And of course, Father Bad Guy, right? Like straight out says like, this is your calling. He says this in the scene where they brand her feet. But also I think structurally, this movie asks us to just see everything through the lens of her viability as a mother, right? We've got a lot of interesting male gazy moments in this movie where she's donning robes and you see some skin, right? And I know that you are supposed to separate the actor from the art that they're creating, but I feel like there is something to note about the fact that it's Sydney Sweeney and she's kind of a sex symbol, right? She was in Euphoria. Have you seen?
I have not.
Have you seen this show?
No.
Right? This is a very sexy show about teenagers, and so there's lots of shots of there are some shots of her donning robes. You've also got that scene in the bath where all of the nuns are in see-through white garments, and you can see this. There's just this real emphasis. I feel like they're asking the viewer to try to sexualize these people.
I felt that way too, and when she's laying down in the pool, and she's pregnant, but boobs, and then
but boobs.
There was also the moment where she comes back from trying to do the whole chicken blood thing.
Yeah.
And they make her shower, and she's holding her boobs, and it's hard not to
It's hard not
look
to
at them.
Be a little. Hang on. Yeah, here's Sydney Sweeney's boobs.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the fact that the movie is structured on the trimesters of pregnancy, right? It's trimester 2, trimester 3.
Right.
It's what I think that the movie does right is attempt to villainize the viewer in the same way that the antagonists of the movie are villains. And it, attempts a bit of meta commentary there.
That's
which I think I like.
It's they almost want the viewer to see Sydney Sweeney the way that they all look at her.
The bad people. Yeah,
the bad people.
Yeah.
I do.
And that all fits in with the whole genre of nunsploitation, I think, and which is all about sensational representations of what is supposed to be a very chaste, very repressed lifestyle.
I mean, I feel like that makes the going into the nunsploitation part. I feel like that makes sense at the end, the last half hour where she starts killing people. I feel like it felt like a different movie to me. But I feel like that might fit with the nunsploitation too.
Absolutely.
The killing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think what this movie ultimately says is that through this repression, you can take somebody who couldn't even kill a chicken and turn it into somebody who could kill a baby.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. But she does kill a chicken for survival.
But that's what I'm saying. There's a transformation.
That's true.
And I will also say, we were talking about the symbolism earlier of the red-faced nuns. So when she is escaping, and so now she killed the Mother Superior, right? She hit her with a crucifix. And then she kills Father Evil Face, or whatever you were calling him.
Father Bad Guy. Yeah, Father Bad Guy.
She kills Father Bad Guy when she crawls out of the catacombs through that light, which also really reminded me of that movie we watched with my sister. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The Descent? It's because those catacombs are totally vaginal, and we will get into that.
Okay. But when she comes out of that, her face is covered in blood. And I was like, oh, now she's a red-faced nun. And then she kills the baby.
Oh, shit.
That's okay. Cat just blew Jen and I's brains out.
I don't think a guest has ever done that to us.
Well, thank you.
Oh, my God. Okay. Love that reading.
Yep.
That's all I have.
That's it.
Those are all
that rules.
We can't top that.
That's it. The podcast is over. Bye, everybody.
Oh, my God.
Oh, man. All right. Yeah. No, I love that. And what a cool transformation then, right? Not only that Sydney Sweeney goes from being a very innocent, very naive ingenue kid to somebody who could kill like whatever it is she's carrying, whether it be a baby, whether it be the Antichrist, but also it transforms her into that fucking cult, whatever it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is also a statement about everyone else who's in the cult, is that they came in and probably innocent too. And
Shit.
True.
Fuck.
And you were saying that the catacombs are like vaginal.
I think they are.
She crawls out of that tiny hole. So she's like, it's like a rebirth.
Yeah, it's about a birth.
Into
yeah.
evil.
oh my god.
All right, guys.
Fuck, I feel like I
shut it
like this
down.
movie more now. Damn it. Who's got some critique?
Okay, well, first of all, I think the opening scene was a waste. I did. Where she's like running away and they bury her. It's great. I liked it as a short story film. It didn't fit. It didn't fit because I was like, okay, she doesn't look pregnant to me. Did she just find stuff out? Like, there were too many questions, and she never came back, so I didn't like it.
Well,
I thought they stuck with it an uncomfortable length, and I liked that.
I also think it
That's
almost
what she said. Sorry.
I almost would have been like, I think it almost would have been scarier to not know that before Sydney Sweeney got there.
You're right.
Yeah.
Like we know from the get-go that the nuns are evil, and I feel like it takes away a little of the suspense.
Yeah, because then if we didn't know that, you'd be trying to figure out who was evil, and maybe
that's a
the
good
nuns
point.
weren't in on it. Maybe it was just the priest.
They were getting into that like Evil Dead Rise. They were trying to do that kind of thing where it's like a kill right up front that just lets you know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, just to...
And they...
Which... All right. One other critique. I say that. There's going to be a lot of critiques.
A lot of critiques.
A lot.
A lot.
A lot. So,
A lot.
the movie has this really cool, like, Rosemary's Baby, Polanski, Dario Argento vibe for most of it. And then, at the last half hour, suddenly, she's killing nuns and choking priests.
Yeah, there was
and
I agree.
and
There's a weird tonal shift.
Yes, and I laughed at it, but I was like, wait, this movie isn't funny. When her water breaks and she's like, God damn it. I was like, that's funny.
Yeah.
But also doesn't fit. So I was like, what movie are we in now?
I thought, the scene where she just decides to fight back, I thought was the strangest. It's such a weirdly low energy scene, in my opinion. She's just kind of laying back, having this ultrasound, and she's like, well, I guess I better kill these motherfuckers now. And she grabs the cross, and she kills the Mother Superior, and I'm like, I mean, I guess I saw this coming. We watched this movie twice. And
Same, I did
the second
too.
time
Yep.
around... The second time around, I felt it more. I understood it more, but it still just felt strange to me. I'm not sure what the handling was there that didn't work for me, but
I
something.
agree. I watched it twice also, and I still could not figure out how to describe this.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't figure out what was doing it, but it felt more like it was shot like an action film in that moment than a horror film. And I was like, something about these shots feel action, and I'm not sure if they were quick, if it was the angle, like what it...
Yeah.
Do you think that was intentional? Like, that's after she decides to stand up for herself,
Yeah.
right?
Probably.
And do you think that's supposed to signify her taking an active role in her life?
Yeah, maybe. It's like her conversion from, like, being a vessel of God to being an agent of her own volition.
Taking control.
Yeah, maybe.
I think maybe, but I don't think it worked.
Something about it doesn't make sense
No,
to me.
there's
You're right.
a very different
There's
vibe.
something in there that just doesn't work. I agree.
And I want to know how you guys felt about the very end, because my partner Tegan and I disagreed about when she pops out the
whole
hole and
gives
Go
birth,
on.
gives birth
and cuts the umbilical with her teeth.
Oh,
and then,
yeah, that part I couldn't handle. So what did you and Tegan disagree about?
So she really liked it, and I did not. I felt like I was like, okay, I feel like they're trying to do something with childbirth by just showing her face. But I was like, I don't know what they're trying to say. And then I was like, the umbilical cord with her teeth felt more like shock value than anything. I did like the smashing, I'm going to word it this way, smashing of the baby. But I was also like, the way that it's shot and like we basically see the bottom of the rock and then it goes to credits. I was like,
well,
I liked it. I liked the ending, I will say. It didn't feel humorous to me.
It didn't feel humorous to me either.
It felt like what I wanted more of the movie to be like, to be perfectly honest with you. I love the ending. I did not like a lot of the journey. Do you have more points to make, or are you sated? Or
No, I'm good.
I have more.
But it's interesting that you didn't like the first. I like the first half.
I felt that the jump scares didn't serve this movie.
I actually was wondering that as I was watching it. What is Harry going to think of these?
I didn't think
scares?
I thought the jump scares were stupid. Most of them. So some of them maybe served to lay some of that groundwork for feeling like there's maybe something supernatural or Omen-esque happening here. But no, I really thought most of them were kind of throwaway jump scares. And I listened again to some interviews where the director said that he was operating on a some sort of rule that's been established in horror that you need a scare every 8 minutes.
What?
Or something like that.
That's
and
wrong.
I thought that is some horse shit. That will only lead you to hollow, silly scares. I thought a lot of the jump scares were just, like, as I've put it before, like jump scare porn, where it's just...
I'm trying to remember a lot of the jump scares. The only one I can think of is where she's pulled into the wall. What were some of the other ones?
I mean, the crow flying into the window, that's a jump scare.
That feels like a cheap one.
And there are a lot of just... The reason you can't remember them is because they actually mean nothing to the story. Yeah. And that's the problem with a bad jump scare, is that it's just a silly joke that it plays on the audience. And, for a movie that I thought was trying to grapple with, like, one of the more serious issues of our day, which is the overturn of Roe v. Wade. I wanted something that felt dirtier. Yeah. I wanted, as you know, I often have a problem where the horror that I consume undercuts my expectation because I want my horror to make me feel like I want to die.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to feel really uncomfortable.
Like, I want to fucking throw up.
I felt really uncomfortable with this. I'm going to throw that out there.
Like, the only movies I've really, like The Witch, that's one of my, tentpole films for me. So for a movie, I felt like for a movie that wanted to grapple with some real shit, I felt that it went surprisingly pop horror.
I agree.
In many ways.
It felt like a popcorn horror movie.
Exactly.
Just like fun. That's kind of how I felt both times when I watched it, including the ending. I think it was just like the tone shifts.
And I think that's a disservice to its themes.
I agree.
And frankly, to the talent of a lot of its people. I think that Sydney Sweeney is a really talented actor. Though she does get to kind of stretch in this movie a bit. For most of it, she's just kind of playing this, like, silly teenager who just, like, doesn't know what the fuck is going on, and I don't know.
Yes. The movie... Okay. This is related, I promise. The movie I was thinking of was... Have you guys seen The First Omen?
Yeah. Oh, The First Omen?
The new one.
The most recent one? No, I haven't seen it.
It's legit, like, the same fucking plot.
Yeah.
Like, girl goes...
Yep.
She's a nun. She gets married into the church. Gets pregnant. They're doing experiments. Like, it's literally the same movie, except the ending's not great. But I feel like besides the ending, they do it more successfully somehow. Not completely, but like instead of the lab going downstairs to this, like, Frankenstein's sci-fi lab, that's just like, folders with pictures. It's like more subtle in a way.
Gotcha.
I think... Yeah, I don't know. I think there's problems with both of them, but I do think this one felt more cartoonish at times.
I definitely think from the time her water broke on, it really, like you said, the tone completely changed. And I feel like she was trying to be more of an adult with agency at that point, but it did come off across and cartoonish, like you said.
Yeah, I think that might be why, because that might be why the ending I wasn't able to get into as much either, because we've already gone through this whole action cartoon thing, and I'm like still in that mode now suddenly. Like,
well, and for me, the though I like the ending, the reason I feel like maybe it doesn't feel quite earned to me, because most of the movie has just been this kind of silly jump scare. Did you describe it as like a Frankenstein?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right about that. It feels cartoonish. And to have that end with, infanticide, like, is kind of a weird juxtaposition. It doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, you're right. I really think that this movie just tried to invoke the like deep symbolism and ornate imagery of Catholicism.
Yeah.
But did not do so successfully. I think that it just put that there on the surface, and really as a story just didn't make sense to me.
I mean, obviously it was important to the story, but a lot of it felt like more the setting or the I don't know.
Yeah.
The backdrop.
Yeah. All right, let's give it a number then. Let's give it a number. My number is going to be, I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Oh, shit.
Yep. It's a 6.5. I like a lot of the conversation we've had. Honestly, Kat, I think your comment about turning her into a red-faced nun was like what turned the corner for me from being just like a straight-up lukewarm 5 to something that's actually kind of a little bit cooler. I still think that it's just for a movie that's trying to grapple with such a serious topic, it's just way too skippable as a movie, honestly.
The first time we watched it, I was like, I'm going to give this a 3. I really hated it. I really liked I've been watching the movies with Harry lately, and this was like, this is definitely my least favorite of all the ones that we've watched.
Sorry.
But that's okay. You hadn't seen it beforehand. Like, you were
sure,
like, you can't watch this one.
It's not like I was like, hey.
Exactly.
It would be funny. Why make her watch this one?
But I think post this conversation and post second viewing, I've come up to like a 5, but like still just a 5.
Yeah, I've wavered between a 4 and a 4.5.
Wow, that's low.
It is low, but
That's low.
it's not the lowest I've given.
It's not the lowest, but can I? Why so low?
Because it felt like a chore rewatching it.
That's fair.
And I think like rewatching it, I was like, oh, this movie's fine. Like, it's fine. Like, it's solid, but it's not great. So that's why I would give it a 4.5. Like, I gave Cocaine Bear a low rating, but I would still tell people, watch Cocaine Bear. This, I'd say, yeah, watch it. I'm not going to not recommend it.
So
but
where is your line for like good versus bad?
That's a real good question. I don't know if I know. Endings for me. If an ending
and you didn't like
flops or openings, but endings specifically, I could love an entire, like I could want to give a movie a 10, and then if in the last 10 minutes it fucks itself, it'll be like a 3.
Wow. The ending is so much to you.
It is.
I didn't realize it.
I feel like the ending's a lot for you too, though. In general,
it is.
We can watch like a series, and if it ends on a bad note, you're like, that was a waste of those 4 years.
I mean, a series. Are you talking about
that's
Lost?
Very true.
Okay, that is not the only example, but I was talking about Lost.
There's also Game of Thrones. I mean, yeah.
Like, I appreciate the journey, Harry. Like, the ending sucked. I'm done with that.
Listen, it's because Lost.
So disappointing.
This
it was
is now
the worst.
a Lost podcast. It's because here's the problem with Lost. I can appreciate Game of Thrones for the journey. I can do that. I can enjoy seasons 1 through 5 and 6 and 7 and were there 8?
I have no idea.
I forget.
Remember.
We're trash.
I thought it was 6.
And I can appreciate the good ones and ignore the bad ones. But with something like Lost, like, the ending was the promise of that show.
Because it was like all leading
it's
up
like
to
all
something.
will they the whole time they were like all will be revealed, right?
and then
like
nothing was.
and then nothing was revealed. God damn it!
It's the journey.
Nah.
Who's the hottest in this movie?
Oh, I thought you were going to say in Lost.
Who's the hottest in Lost?
Saeed.
Ooh, Saeed.
Oh, and what was
Spicy.
there was another one. I can't remember his name, but he had his shirt off a lot.
Hey, I'm gonna throw it out there.
That's who you're talking
probably
about.
was.
I think it was Boone.
Look, man, Harley. Come on,
Which one's Harley? I got
Hurley.
Hurley?
Hurley.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He's so lovable.
He is
You
so
wanna squeeze him.
lovable.
You do.
All right.
You do.
It's still Sawyer, though. Sorry.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
hot.
Sawyer. No, that
hot
was
AF.
it. That was it. It was
Oh,
Sawyer
Sawyer?
and Saeed. Those were the two. Okay, wait.
Sawyer
so
is the hottest in Lost,
Sawyer is my answer.
for sure.
I have to go to the cast of this movie because I don't remember anyone's name. Okay, who's going
I
first?
have my answer.
You should go first then.
The hottest. Okay.
Yeah, Gwen.
She's cool. Yeah, yeah. Can you justify?
She has backstory. She holds her. She's like physically attractive, but she also like carries herself with confidence. And she's got like this backstory where she's like, I came here because I thought it would be a good life for me. And she like knows more about the world than anyone else in there.
Word.
I can appreciate
I
that.
like that.
I like that.
I like that.
What do you think, John?
It was actually a tie between Gwen and Father Saltedes. What was his name?
Father bad guy?
The brunette one.
Father Dudusky?
Yeah, I think that one.
That's Father Bad Guy.
Father
yeah,
bad guy.
Yeah. I don't know. His charming ways would lure me in.
He was charming.
He was very charming. He seemed sweet. Had like an edge to him.
He knows biology.
Darkness.
Yeah.
He knows biology. I don't know if I call that edgy. But yeah, no.
Well, I mean, he's doing some crazy shit.
That's
with it,
true.
so
That's
it is
true.
a little edgy.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, he's kinky. That's it. Yeah.
There you go.
Burning
That's
feet
the stuff.
and shit. I don't know.
Oh my god.
All right.
I'm going to be a sucker and just a basic motherfucker and say Sydney Sweeney. I think that it's hot. You know, it's a movie that kind of shows her off a lot. And
Very true.
there you go, right? There's the worm and the hook. Where is the dick, though?
Is it the nail? Is it
The nail is pretty dickish. I mean, it does...
It does impregnate her, possibly.
It does
We don't
know.
It impregnates
That-
her. Yeah.
Oh, the nail.
Yeah.
You had your finger up at that time, and I was like,
No one
No,
can see what
no.
I'm doing, but I'm.
yeah.
She's sticking her finger into her hand like the stigmata.
Yeah.
Yeah. The nail works. It's got the DNA of Christ on it.
Yeah,
It does literally impregnate a person in the movie. It does also penetrate another person in the movie.
True.
Right?
That's right.
That's a thing.
It is.
I'm going to go with that big fucking hunkin' ring that Sydney
That she
Sweeney
kissed?
has to kiss, and how uncomfortable she is with it, and just like there's clearly some like weight to this fucking ring that feels dirty and like, ew, I'm not into it.
Like, have they cleaned it?
I don't know. Probably not.
Probably
I
not.
guess not.
I mean, he like washed his hands, presumably
I would
after going
hope
to the
so.
bathroom.
like maybe,
Maybe.
Yeah.
but it's Italy, and you know it's different.
They
over
don't
there.
wash their hands in Italy. Is that what you're saying?
I think that is what I'm saying, Jen. I'm saying that Italians are filthy.
You're canceled this time.
Well, Kat,
Yes.
give us a soundbite. We need a soundbite to close this out.
Oh, but no pressure though, right?
No pressure. Anything that comes into your head. Kate Conroy said, "Bye bye." So like whatever you think. Perfect.
Good night.